Hey, family, welcome to the tribe. Now, for the past few weeks, you've had an opportunity to hear some amazing stories from some very unique caregivers in the system of care. And today is going to be no different. We have a beautiful spirit who's going to have an opportunity to share with us a little bit about her own journey and where she currently is in the process.
Hey family, welcome to the tribe called family.
Please welcome to the show, Emily Morrell. Emily, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to tell you right now, I can already tell that you have the patience of Job because what our listening audience don't know is that I ran into a few technical difficulties that had me running a little behind. But Emily, she was like, no problem. No, nope, I understand. It's not a problem at all. So thank you so much for being so patient with me today. So, Emily, as you know, with this podcast, we like to speak about many aspects of family because families come in all shapes, sizes, backgrounds. And one of the things that I know for certain is that no matter what package that family comes in, there's always going to be a learning experience, a loving experience, a growing experience. So let's start with yourself and just your background. Tell us a little bit about who Emily is.
so I am been raised in Nassau County my entire life and from a small town and I've been in law enforcement for over 10 years and I'm currently a traffic homicide investigator. So, my day-to-day operation is pretty intense, can be pretty demanding. Um, I love my job, and when I'm not at work, I'm spending all my time with my family. I love my significant other. He is amazing. He's in the same line of work as I am, so he really gets me and gets where I'm coming from. My sister and my niece and my parents and just real big in the family. So yeah, when I'm not working, I'm with family, and that's pretty much me. I love my animals. Hopefully, you didn't just hear my dogs barking. I have two big dogs who think they're probably 10 pounds. And then I have two birds and also have two sugar gliders. So I just can't say no to the animals.
Well,
It's
I'm going
kind
to
of
tell you
like
right now.
Jumanji in here.
Yes, heard the dogs, but that's okay. They're part of the family. They're part of the tribe as well. But did I hear you
Yes.
say sugar gliders?
Sugar gliders, yes.
I have no idea what a sugar glider is, Emily. You have to educate me. What is a sugar glider?
They're like flying squirrels. They're like they look like a mix between a flying squirrel and a lemur. So
Okay.
I just call them my monkeys because it's easier to call them that. But they love to jump and glide around the house. So it's pretty cool.
Now, I have seen people with those as pets on TikTok. So that is like a real
Yeah.
thing. Where
Yeah,
do
it's a
you
real
get
thing.
sugar gliders from? I'm sure you just didn't go out into the woods of Nassau and get you a sugar glider.
No, I didn't. Actually, these were rehomed. Lulu and Rue are their names. They were rehomed. I saw someone on Facebook had posted that they needed to rehome them. They just didn't have time for them anymore. And like I said, I can't say no to animals. If it were up to me, I would probably have a house full of animals. But thankfully, my significant other, he keeps me he keeps me
Keeps you grounded. Keeps you
grounded on
grounded.
that
Yeah.
because if I pulled over on every stranded dog on the side of the road, I'd probably have them all home with me.
Wow. How many pets total? So I heard that the dogs, the sugar gliders, like what's the total number of pets?
We have six pets. So we have two dogs, two birds, and two sugar gliders. Yeah.
So you have a big family. So you
Yes, we
mentioned
have a
your
big
significant
family.
other. I heard you mention your parents, your sister, your
Yes.
pets. So family, clearly family is very important to you. Um,
Yes.
where do your values as it relates to family as the family unit come from and why is it so important to you?
Um, I think my values just come from just growing up. I mean, my family has always been very close knit and very um important to me. I I would say that 90% of my immediate family lives within 10 minutes of me. So I was always with, my parents or my grandparents, my cousins, aunts, uncles. So family has always just been instilled in me as being the most important thing in my life. And yeah, just I've, I've always been that way. Always been very close to my family.
Certainly. And so, as we're about to dive into in just a moment, you made a decision to expand your family,
Yes.
right? But before we do, you shared with us about your career, a
Mhm.
very demanding line of work.
Yes.
What led you into that field? Homicide traffic investigator?
Yes, traffic homicide investigator. So, my stepdad was actually a police officer before he met my mom, and hearing all of his, fun stories about work, being a police officer, I thought, wow, this is something that I would love to do. And, when I was 18 and I said, oh, I want to be a police officer, he was like, absolutely not. You are not doing that. And it took a little bit of convincing, but him and my mom could see I wasn't backing down from it. And so I went into law enforcement with the Florida Highway Patrol, and I was the youngest in my academy class. I was
Wow.
19 years old. I graduated the academy before I could even buy my own bullets for my gun. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, I got started in it very early. I knew from the very beginning I wanted to go into traffic homicide because my stepdad was also a traffic homicide investigator. Um, it's it's something that I feel like you're either made for it or you're not
Hmm.
because it is very sad.
Sure.
Um, but there's something about bringing justice to the families who the victims that are killed in these crashes. Something about bringing justice to these families that just sits very close to my heart, and I can't help but just get very emotionally involved in my cases. I want to be the unbiased side of the investigation, and I'm going to make sure that the investigation is right. And that's what I've set out to do for the last 6.5 years as a homicide investigator. I'm going to make sure that the case is right, and no matter what that means, at the end of the day, I'm going to bring answers to the families.
Clearly, you are someone whom sets their mind to a goal and you are going to make that thing happen. You're going to
Yes.
punch through whatever brick wall is standing in your way, the way that you accomplished your goal with getting into law enforcement. So now let's transition
Yeah.
more into this huge heart of yours. Because if you have not been able to tell by now, Emily, your heart is immense.
Thank you.
Just hearing you speak about your passion for work, hearing you speak earlier about your pets and your family, and with all of that goodwill, sweat equity, effort, and concern that you already distribute through work and through your family, you made a decision to kick it up a notch and become a caregiver within the foster care system.
Yes.
What inspired that decision for you?
So becoming a caregiver in the foster care system was something that I was kind of a little bit unexpectedly thrown into. But I wouldn't change it for the world. And it really taught me a lot about myself and taught me that I can be a good mom, I can be a parent, and I can really make a difference in a child's life. And when I was a caregiver in the foster system, it really just opened my eyes to how many children are in the state system who need a loving, safe home. And I knew that that was something that I could provide. And that's what opened my eyes to wanting to adopt.
You mentioned that being a caregiver taught you a lot about yourself.
Mhm.
And you went on to share how it let you know that you can be a good mom and a good parent. Were there doubts for you in those areas prior to becoming a caregiver?
Um, I feel like the want to be a mom was always there, and I was just I do doubt myself a little bit sometimes, just personally with am I going to be good enough
Mm.
for this? Am I going to be a good enough caregiver? Am I going to be a good enough mom? Am I going to be what this child needs to succeed in life? And I really learned through that experience that I am good enough for it, and I would be good enough for it. Come, having the perfect match made with a child in the system, and um, that's what I'm experiencing now, and it's the best thing that has ever happened to me. So,
Absolutely, Emily. You are definitely good enough. And if you are just now tuning in, you are listening to A Tribe Called Family. I'm your host, Octavius Davis. My guest right now is Emily. I remember when I was becoming a father, right? So when my
mm,
wife was carrying our son, I can recall just the many days of doubt and just downright fear. I'm gonna keep it honest.
yeah.
I was like, because I had never been a dad before,
Hmm.
and am I gonna mess things up? Am I gonna do something stupid? Am I gonna break the kid? I mean,
Yeah.
he's a little bitty old, little bitty
Yeah.
old thing that I was trying to hold. And especially for myself, growing up, my father wasn't present. And so I
Hmm.
didn't have that example for me to pattern myself after. So when I became a dad and, holding my son, I still have this picture of me holding my son. When I had him in my arms, it was something like on the inside, like, nah, Octavius, you got this.
Yeah.
You are going to be here for this little man every step of the way. And here we are 14 years later. He's going into
Yeah.
high school, going into ninth grade this fall, and his voice is just as deep as mine. So I'm like, okay, I still tell myself I got this, especially as he's going into high school. So by you being a caregiver, it helped you to find that confidence, that
Yes.
reassurance that you could definitely be a parent, a mom.
Yes.
So talk to us about this journey that you're currently on to become a mom.
So I guess let me just go back real quick to being a caregiver. When I was a caregiver of an infant. So just keep that in mind. So
Sure.
when I was a caregiver of an infant, I was like, yeah, I got this. I can do this, no problem. Um, which no problem. No, babies are. Uh, I didn't realize how much work babies were, but she was the best. And
Yeah.
but anyways, I got started in my adoption classes, and going through that process was great. I made a lot of friends, and a lot of friends that I'm still connected with, and I'm seeing on Facebook that they've, got their new additions to their family coming in about the same time that I do. So when I graduated I say graduated, when I completed my
Mhm.
adoption classes, it was the beginning of August of last year, so 2023. And I immediately was, looking on Family Match and looking for a little kiddo to bring into my home. And uh, because my significant other and I are not married, and I was the one who went through the adoption classes, I was the one that, I am the one legally adopting, but we were both like, how, wanting to find a kiddo that was going to fit into our lives and just mesh really well with our family. So we would talk back and forth and show interest in different kiddos and things like that. And one day, I believe it was in like late October of last year. I had actually interviewed with another adoption agency in Gainesville for a 9-year-old little girl. And during the interview, I was told, oh, we have a lot of families to talk to about this child. We'll let you know if you've moved forward in the process, but in the meantime, if we have another kiddo that we think is a perfect match for you, can we let you know? And I was like, absolutely, 100%, because I believe that God is going to put the right
The
kiddo
right
in
child.
our
Yeah,
lives.
yeah, absolutely.
So 2 days later, I was laying in bed and I got an email from the recruiter, and she said, "Hey, this is the kiddo we have in mind. We think you're a perfect match. We realize she's a little bit out of your age range." And so my age preference was 0 to 10,
Okay.
because being um, a foster parent to an infant, I was like, okay, younger children. I know younger children, and I have my niece, and she's younger, so I just know younger kids a little bit better. So my age preference was 0 to 10, and she said, "We realize she's a little bit out of your age preference." And in parentheses, I saw the number 16, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know." Like,
Teens are a
and
different ball
so
game.
yes, the whole different ball game. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read her profile.
Hmm.
And I read her profile, and the moment I clicked on it, I just started crying
Wow.
because um she she's perfect. God really said, "This is your daughter."
Wow.
And I FaceTimed my significant other, and because he was out of town on work, and I read him the profile of our daughter, and she loves law enforcement.
Hmm.
So, check one, she loves law enforcement. I was like, wow. And she loves animals. We have Jumanji here in the house. She loves to cook. She loves true crime shows. She just loves everything that we do as a family.
Yeah.
And I looked at Josh on FaceTime, and I said, this is our daughter. This is her. And so, I mean, it didn't take us but 15 minutes to read her profile and make a decision and email her recruiter back and say, yes, I said in all caps, I was like, yes, 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 absolutely, yes, I want to move forward. So at that point, I moved into, because what is unfortunate, because of our daughter's age, is not a lot of people want to adopt teenagers.
Very true.
And it it really did break my heart. And but it also kind of fast tracked the process for us a little bit, because we didn't have to interview. We went straight into a match staffing interview. And so I went in person and I met with her whole care team,
Hmm.
her guardian ad litem, her recruiter, her foster mom, everybody who was involved in her case, some way or another. I met with every single one of them, and they asked me a lot of questions.
Sure.
And after I left the meeting, I was feeling really confident. And the next day, her recruiter called me and said, "You walked out of the room," and we immediately all said yes. And my heart was bursting. I called Josh. I said, "I can't believe it. We got matched." So I said, this was about mid-November at this point. I'm like, "Can she just come home for Christmas?" And they were like, "That's not how this works." I'm like, "I know." But
Sure.
we were dying to get her home. And so finally, come the very beginning of February, I got to meet her for the first time, and we went on a little dinner date with her recruiter and just got to meet, and it was the best
Now,
time
quick question.
ever.
Was
Yeah,
this her first time meeting you?
yes. So she found out, she did not find out she was being adopted until the beginning of January. So I had known from November,
Yeah.
but they didn't tell her until the beginning mid of January this year. And so then they said we would have our first meeting in the beginning of February. So we had our first meeting and we went to Hurricane Wings because my girl loves chicken wings and it was great. And we started picking out everything for her bedroom. You know, she picked out her bedspread and her decorations, and then we had her and I had another meeting. We went and saw Willy Wonka in the theaters with her recruiter. And then the third meeting, Josh got to meet her, and it was just even better. It was just so
Mm.
great. We were all together, and the rest is kind of history. We were supposed to only have one meeting a week for about 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. It turned into like 2 to 3 because she was begging to see us. We were begging to see
Wow.
her, and her recruiter just really worked with us, and we got to see her a lot. And we met her in the beginning of February, and she was moved in by mid-March.
Wow. So that was very
And
swift.
yeah, it was very fast. She moved in March 18th, and she turned 17 that week that she moved
Oh,
in.
talk about a
So,
great birthday present.
oh, and it was the best because we did, oh my gosh. So she's a night owl. I am not a night owl. She stays up late. So I had to wait. We had to wait until she went to bed, and we blew up 200 balloons. Her favorite color is blue.
Yeah.
So we blew up 200 blue balloons and put them all in her hallway. We put blue streamers all over the house. We put a sign up that said happy birthday. And we went all out. We
Yeah.
decorated the whole house, put all her presents on the kitchen table. And normally she's up very early in the morning. She's a night owl, and then
And the
she's
early bird.
an early bird. And so I was making breakfast, and it was like 9 o'clock and she wasn't awake yet. And I'm like, is
The,
she
the
ever gonna
anticipation
wake
was
up?
getting you. Yeah.
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So finally she came out of her room and she was like, what the heck? All the balloons flooded in her room. She didn't know what to do.
Wow.
Um, and it was just the best. It was the best day. And she, because of where she moved from and where she moved to, she actually had 2 spring breaks in a row. So
Oh,
we had yeah, yeah, lucky
I
kid,
mean,
right?
the stars aligned for that birthday, like nobody's business.
I
Sheesh.
know, birthday, 2 spring breaks, what more could you ask for? And then, so yeah, she started her new school and she's been here for June 18th will be no, I'm sorry, will be 3 months. Her 90 days are coming up soon. So I actually just got her adoption paperwork in my email a few days ago. I'm gonna go have it notarized, and we're gonna get that court date set and have her adoption legalized. So
Oh, it is fast coming. And Emily, that is
yes,
a beautiful story.
thank you.
Congratulations to you and your family, to your daughter, just with how everything aligned. And so there's a lot there that I want to take a step back and dissect
Yeah,
for a moment. The first thing that I want to address is you mentioned about previously being a caregiver or a foster parent, and then you transition to make a decision to adopt. I always like to make it very clear on this show, foster to adopt is not a thing. That is
no,
not what we do. That is not what Emily did. All right. So
no,
if you hear foster to adopt out in the streets, if you think in your mind once hearing this story, I want to foster to adopt, no, that is not what Emily did. She
no,
used to foster, then she made a decision to become an adoptive parent, two very different things. And then she began the journey to become an adoptive parent, leaving the foster parent traits behind, or not trait, but you know what I mean, leaving the foster parent aspect of it behind. But you then also just shared just from A to Z with being matched with your daughter. Let's talk about that for a moment, the matching
yeah,
process,
hmm,
because becoming a foster parent, excuse me, becoming an adoptive parent and being selected to adopt a particular child, this is not randomly selecting a child saying, yeah, that one. It's much more complex than that. So share with the listeners just that matching process. What was it like? What did you have to go through? And how long did that process take before you actually found your current daughter? How many other children were presented to you?
Right. So I actually went through, even though on a like looking at the timeline, it doesn't seem like a long time. I went through a lot over that short amount of time, being presented with different children to possibly look into their profiles, and then also me looking into um, other kiddos' profiles. So I was being contacted by adoption agencies, and then I was also contacting adoption agencies because I was open to a medical adoption for a child who had medical needs because I am just personally familiar with medical needs. So I had a lot of people reaching out to me, a lot of agencies reaching out, and it is not as quick as everyone thinks it's going to be. You're not going to see a kiddo on a Facebook page for adoption or on the Heart Gallery or anything like that, and just say that's my kid, and I'm moving forward,
Right.
because these adoption agencies are going to pick the person they think is best fit for that child. And if for some reason my home wasn't a fit for that kiddo, they moved on to the next family, because there was another child that I looked into, potentially getting more information, found out she was allergic to dogs.
Mm,
And so there, I mean, it boils down to, it can be really big things or it can be really small things. Do you live near water? You know, should the child not be near a body of water? Well, I have a pond in my backyard. So,
right.
you know, that could be um, something that is addressed in the process. Having animals, if you have other kids in your home, so they're really looking for the best fit for that kiddo. And I would say between inquiries that I made and then inquiries that other adoption agencies made with me, I probably had close to 2 dozen
Mm.
inquiries combined before I was matched with my daughter.
So many things you just said that I really love. What sticks out to me the most is throughout that whole process, her advocates were working to find out who was going to be the best fit for her.
Yes.
And granted, there has to be some reciprocity there because it has to also be a good fit for you as the parent. But
Yes.
the fit for the child is at the forefront of everyone who's involved. Just
Hmm.
such what may seem like a small detail, as you mentioned, like different allergies. If the
Yes.
child is allergic to dogs, then and knowing how well your family enjoys pets, okay, well, that's not going to be a great fit for the child.
Hmm.
They're not going to be happy in that type of scenario. So
Hmm.
that's a really great detail to share, to have shared with the listening audience, because it takes time
It
for
does.
an adoption to finalize because there are all these different moving parts that so many people don't realize is going on behind the scenes. So
Oh,
you are currently waiting on getting your paperwork notarized and submitted, court dates taken care of, the whole 9 yards. When you think about just this entire process, even going back to you as a foster parent, when you were a foster parent, did you think that you would be standing here at this stage preparing to adopt?
yeah. Yes and no. Yes, because I knew in my heart it's what I wanted. But if you would have told me it would have been this amazing, and it would have just all the circumstances. I mean, I was so petrified when I saw that number
Mm,
16. And then I found out she was going to be 17 when she very soon after moving in. And I thought, gosh, can I do this? And like I said, it's like God really said, this is your daughter. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She, her profile was just and I one thing about her profile, you might see a kiddo's profile on the Heart Gallery and get maybe 3 to 4 paragraphs about who they are.
Yeah.
That is such a just small little bit of what that kiddo really is about.
Right.
And I really encourage people to think beyond the profile, think beyond the pictures that are on the Heart Gallery or that are on the recruitment websites and things like that. Because, when I went through my adoption classes, it really hit home. One of my teachers said, these pictures of these kids are taken maybe when they're changing from foster home to foster home.
Yeah.
They might not be happy, so they're probably not going to smile.
Yeah.
And I just encourage people to look beyond those pictures, look beyond just that little bit of information you're getting on their biography or whatever they're putting out, information for this child, and really just ask questions, what do they like to do? Who are they as a kid? Their recruiters know them.
And I want to touch on something that you mentioned that I think could potentially be a hurdle for many people who may consider fostering or adopting. And that's that fear component, right? Now, here it is, Emily. I would think that you have nerves of steel. You're a traffic homicide investigator. You never know what type of situation you're going to walk into when you go to a scene. But when you saw that number on that page, the word you said was, I was petrified. What was what were some of the thoughts going through your mind? I know you said, "Can I do this?" That's great, but petrified, that's like, "Oh my goodness, what in the world?" What was going through your mind?
Well, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, a teenager, high school and driving and cell phones
Yeah,
and social media and just all the things that and and I do have a little bit more like different perspective on it just because of what I do for a living. Um, but because I do see the dangers out there and I do
sure.
see the bad in the world. So I was like, oh my goodness, you know, just all that, driving and high school and friends and, you know, boyfriends and relationships. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Like, ah,
Yeah,
you know, just wasn't sure. But like I said, it was meant to be,
yeah.
and it was the best decision that um, we've ever made, and I'm so happy that she's home.
Outstanding. If you're just tuning in, we have been speaking with Emily and her family's amazing story as she's preparing to adopt her daughter. So, Emily, we're getting ready to wrap. What would you say to someone who has been considering getting involved in child welfare, but they're on the fence? They're not sure if they want to foster, they're not sure if they want to adopt. What would you say to someone who's on the fence right now to encourage them to make a decision, one road or the other?
I would say just put your whole heart in it. And if this is something that you really want to do with your whole heart and your whole mind, and you really want to just be there for that kiddo, whether it's on a temporary timeline as a foster parent, and you want to help give them a safe home while they are either trying to be reunified with their parents or they're getting ready to be put into the system permanently until they can be adopted. Just if you're looking for a foster route, go into it with your whole heart. Like we talked about earlier, foster to adopt is not a thing. And just know that if you're going into it to be a foster parent, you're going into it to be a foster parent, and you're going into it to give that child a loving temporary home, safe and warm environment while they're going through maybe what could be the worst time of their life. And you just need to be that person for them. And if you're going into it to be an adoptive parent, just know you have to go into it with your whole heart and your whole mind, because this is permanent. And one thing that I have told my daughter from the very first day is, this is permanent. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not giving you back. I'm not going to get mad at you and say, no, you can go back to your foster home. This is permanent. I'm going to be your mom forever. When you're 17, 18, 30, 40, when you have
Yeah.
kids, I'm going to be your mom forever. And so if you're looking to adopt, just I highly encourage it. Just go into it with your whole heart and your whole mind, because it is a huge commitment. And for me, I went from 0 to 100. I went from
Yeah.
no children to a teenager.
Absolutely.
So that was a bit of an experience, but I'm so blessed and I'm so glad that I did it. Um, and I would also say, if you're hesitant about adopting a teenager like I was, don't be. These these kiddos are just the best. And I mean, I think we can pretty much all say as teenagers we might have had a little sassy attitude every now and then, or
Of course, it comes with the
broke
territory.
curfew. Yeah, it comes with curfew being a teenager. But don't be scared. I I feel like now going through the process from being a foster parent to now being an adoptive parent, and going from such a young age, of having such a young age child in foster and now adopting a 17-year-old, I feel like I'm such an advocate for adopting a teenager. They deserve a loving, safe home just like all these other younger kiddos. And all these kids, they all deserve loving, safe homes, but these teenagers, they're good kids.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
need some love.
Just need someone to shed some love on them and give them a chance. Give them an
Yeah, give them a
opportunity.
chance.
Yeah.
Yes, give them a chance. And that was probably the saddest thing for me when I was matched with our daughter. She said, um, she told her recruiter, she said, I didn't think I was ever going to be adopted. I thought I was going to age out. And when I heard that, my heart just like ripped into two pieces, and it made me really sad
Yeah.
to be. I cannot imagine going back to that age and thinking I'm just gonna be on my own when I turn 18. So she's gonna have a home to come home to forever when she's on break from college, and when she's got kids and everything like that. She's gonna have somewhere to come back to. And that's what she deserves.
You know, we're not asking for people to go out and save the world. We're not asking you to become a
No.
member of the Avengers. I promise you. However, all of us have it within our ability and our wherewithal to make an impact on a kid's life that may currently be in foster care.
Hmm.
Maybe you aren't called to be a foster parent. That's fine. Maybe you aren't even
Hmm.
called to be an adoptive parent, but there are opportunities to still make a positive impact on the lives of children as a volunteer, as a donor. Reach out to your local agency just to find out, just to see how you
Hmm.
could potentially help make an impact on someone's life. Emily Morrell, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story with us today on A Tribe Called Family. Your family is beautiful, and congratulations to you as you continue expanding.
Thank you so much.
Hey family, welcome to the tribe called family.